Hi guys, how are you?
Hi,
Hi.
doing okay.
Hi, good.
So to start, Kate, I'm fascinated by I like that the first part of this show is Poet's story, and we get to kind of see a woman agent who she is in the midst of this program, and normally that would kind of fall to a male character given how Hollywood tends to tell these stories. And so what was it about Poet in this story in particular that inspired you and wanted made you want to be a part of it?
Well, I really liked that this story does follow both the female perspective and the male perspective, and the journey of both all of these characters, from Quantico to years later where they end up in their lives. That was definitely part of why I was attracted to telling this story and being a part of this world. It's definitely a different tone and a different world than I haven't done that before. I was also just interested in playing this character at different points in her life. I thought that would be an interesting experience because you don't usually get to do that. You're usually playing somebody, at one specific time in their life,
Mhm.
and obviously we all change typically a lot in a 10-year span, a 20-year span, 30-year span. So that was exciting to me.
And Sepideh, I'm obsessed with how when we first see you, she's in a bathtub. She's like, I don't want to be here. I shouldn't be here. I don't know why I am. And then to see kind of her journey throughout I don't know how to call it. They're not timelines. It's one timeline, but it's
Yeah.
different spots throughout it.
Yeah.
But to see that journey is really like fascinating. How much she's changed when you're approaching something that is so drastic and kind of where she is when we first meet her versus like the different times that we get to see her throughout their friendships, as it
Yeah.
were. What is kind of the most fascinating part of getting to kind of like tap into the present day versus like where she is in that bathtub or in the future where you have gray in your hair and you get to pretend like I'm fascinated by that whole like kind of journey.
Yeah, I'm fascinated too. And I think one of the joys of what we get to do is to imagine, and it makes us reflect on our own lives. It makes us reflect on, the people that we know and love's lives. It makes you wonder even deeper about what's going on around you, the person
Mhm.
across from you and on the train. Where were they? How were they 10 years ago? And I've mentioned, all of us have talked about how drastically our own lives have changed in the past 10 years, 15 years, even 5 years. And so I certainly wasn't surprised to see the evolution, like where Or ended up. She starts as this sort of awkward, shy misfit. And then you see her in the
Mhm.
present and she's doing all the right things. She's wearing all the right clothes, wearing the right amount of makeup, looks presentable, has this sort of heteronormative existence in the world. And then you see her in the future living freely and purely, even though she is technically living in exile. And so being able to tap into these, it reminds me of something that one of my mentors would always say to me is, we don't want to change anything about you. And this is referring to singing, when I was singing primarily.
Mhm.
She said, I don't want to change your voice. I want to strip, I want to shed what we don't need. And so to see these characters kind of shed all of the baggage throughout their lives, accumulate baggage in ways, and also shed a lot throughout their lives is just, it's so deep and it's beautiful. And it connects us deeper to the moment we're in on so many levels. It's like, as human beings, the choices that we make now, the choices that Or made to defy her family, as much as it tore her up inside, it ended up bringing her and introducing her to one of the loves of her life, really, which is Poet,
Mhm.
and a person and a world that basically defined her life, for better or worse. So it's really cool. I mean, it's such a simple way of putting it, but it's just so cool to be able to zoom
Mhm.
out and look at anyone's lives and our own lives from the lens of, you know, the 40 years down the line or 30 years down the line or whatever. It's a beautiful playground.
Yeah, and I'm so fascinated too by like Brian, it is he goes from like the love interest to sort of the enemy within like the pilot alone. For Poet, which I
Yeah.
think is very fun, that it's like
Yeah.
such that cool that car scene is so cool. And then to see Poet be like, oh yeah, I remember why we broke up. You suck, and just like walk away. I loved it.
Brutal. She's brutal.
It was so cool though. But when you are playing kind of like the like, oh, look how charming and I can like I'm so sweet into like, you know, the FBI agent as we've come to know them in media. Where do you kind of find like the lighter moments within that? Because even when he is the FBI agent kind of at odds with Poet, there are still those like the glimmers of like why they were together in the first place.
Yeah, it's the cool thing about the story, and I think the sort of focus that Tom Rob Smith put on this, the approach to it, which is, it's not just about the surface level of these people, their jobs and the FBI, which is interesting enough. I mean, it's it's thrilling. Who doesn't like a good crime story? Looking at an institution like the FBI and the way it changes over the years. But I think what Tom did that was so great was that he married this with like a look at these people's personal lives and the way that these people evolve along with the FBI and with their careers. So, in a way that those were things that were always on the page, and that Tom had already sussed out way ahead of time. I just kind of had to show up and try not to screw it up. Yeah.
When it is it is funny because it's like on paper, like my little like fan brain is like, yes, Poet's the center of a love triangle, but she never feels that way when you're watching the show. Like she always has her own agency. We always kind of see where she's thinking and feeling in a situation. And it's really cool to kind of have to break my brain of like love triangle thoughts because I'm like, this character is way too good for that. But like when you are kind of navigating two different love stories within like an intersecting timeline of a series, where do you kind of find the like moments where her kind of exterior falls so she can have those romantic moments with with whomever in whatever timeline she's in?
I mean, a lot of that is just presented in the writing that we're given. And it wasn't hard to pretend to be in love with either of these people because they're so special. And I'm not even kidding. But yeah, I mean, listen, I'm lucky. I'm like, oh, which one of them do I have to pretend to love to? We all just like instantly connected so deeply, which is so special and unique. And yeah, I really loved that Poet had these different connections and different relationships, and to watch them grow and change and shift and all of that was just exciting to play as an actor.
Yeah, because I was gonna say it's so much fun. Like, I guess this is for all of you who want to comment, because it is very fun to look at how every character is connected to one another. Because like I love whenever Poet has to go to like Teo and be like, oh hey, they're inviting you to this thing, but Lennox didn't ask him. Poet had to go to, and like when you guys are all kind of mapping out like, okay, well, they wouldn't really talk to so and so, but they would talk to this. How do you as actors kind of like find that within each other on set?
The dynamics are similar to real life. Yeah, sorry, go on, Seppi.
No, that's it. I think that those dynamics are written on the page, and then the relationships that we have worked on in our, at home on the script when we're working, or just what naturally comes up with us as you're playing off of the person you're in the scene with. I mean, so much of storytelling, visual storytelling, in film and television has to do with the audience too, and how they put things together based on the script. So a lot of it is stuff that we don't even like consciously think about. It's just what the audience is interpreting from the dynamics. And so when you have a clearly written relationship or a story, then these things like it does it for you, or it does it for the audience in a way. you just kind of show up and play the scene.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for talking with me today. I watched my screeners late last night and was like, couldn't keep watching because it was late, and I was like, but I want to. I want to
Good.
like I was like, I want to keep going.
Oh.
But thank you guys so much for talking with me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.